Okay, so now time check, it's 4:04 now. So we can actually start to let people in. Yep, so speakers just get ready.
A very good afternoon to everyone. I'm David from NUS Industrial Liaison Office, and I am also the moderator for today's event. A very warm welcome to our NUS Giving Experience webinar series. On behalf of NUS Development Office and NUS Industrial Liaison Office, thank you all for joining today's sessions with the theme, Taking Farming into the Future. Before we get started, I would like to go through some of the housekeeping matters. You may like to click on the speaker's wheel to maximize your enjoyment in today's event. Please keep your video off and microphone muted during the session to prevent any disturbance. If you have any question, please type them in the chat box and we will bring it up during the Q&A session. Please also note that this webinar will be recorded and we will share the video link with you after this event. So today, we are so pleased to have with us 3 panel speakers. Let me introduce them one by one. First, we have Mr. Darrell Lim, co-founder of Augmentus. Augmentus is an AI robotic company that works closely with advanced manufacturing companies to lower the skill and cost barrier in robotic automation through their proprietary programming platform. Prior to his work in Augmentus, Darrell served as the head of products and operations in NUS, a computing distribution company that was the largest technology provider for blockchain encryption solutions in Southeast Asia. He has experience in finance, growth, and digital marketing processes during his time in Citibank and Seagate Technology. Through his entrepreneurial excellence, Darrell has been featured in many mainstream media, such as Channel News Asia and Straits Times. He is often invited to speak and mentor at entrepreneurship conferences. And our next speaker is Mr. Sikhat Jahaf, founder and CEO of Polybee. Polybee is a Singapore-based agritech company which aims to enhance global food security. He works very closely with seeds company, greenhouses, and vertical farms where autonomous pollination is imperative. Building autonomous solutions through the use of cutting-edge algorithms in computer vision, deep learning, and automation of drone will boost farmers' yield with great control. Mr. Sihat's vision is to build a drone platform that can be used for all types of indoor farming when it comes to end-to-end processes such as pollination, which currently is being done manually. And our third speaker, Mr. Xu Tao, co-founder and CTO of Singrow Private Limited. Singrow is a developer of innovative agri-tech solutions for producing premium quality fruits and vegetables. He has extensive experience in the field of plant physiology and have years of research under his belt. Together with his partner, they developed a novel hydroponic systems suitable for cultivating the freshest and best quality seasonal crops all year round in tropical countries like Singapore. The farming technology uses lesser energy and resources as compared to the other indoor farms. So, taking this opportunity, I would like to share with all of you that in NUS, we run various entrepreneurship programs for our students and staff. One of them is NUS GRIP. NUS GRIP is a comprehensive step-by-step guidance program that provide industrial linkages to real-world problems, mentorship, funding, and other supports necessary for postgrad students and researchers to transform their years of research knowledge and experience into deep tech startups. NUS GRIP prides itself as a conducive breeding ground for startups with a target to generate up to 250 teams in 5 years. Of note, it is heartening to see that the number of young entrepreneurs who champion a social cause through the startup is increasing. So now, let us get back to the event's topic. With the unremitting trends of increasing population and environmental pressures, the approach for food production needs to be transformed and be more creative. Farming today is no longer toiling on a field under the hot sun, and farmers need to leverage on modern farming technologies and innovation to improve their yields, operations, and quality of their crops. So without further ado, let's begin today's session with our 3 NUS alumni speakers, as they will share with us their knowledge and experience in innovative farming. Let's start with Mr. Daryl Lim. Daryl, I shall hand over the stage to you.
Yeah, thanks, David. Hi everyone, my name is Daryl. I'm one of the co-founders of Augmentus. So as what David mentioned, I did come from NUS. And just to share a brief introduction of what Augmentus does. Augmentus is the world's first no-code and fully integrated AI robotics platform. And what we do is we strive to lower the barriers for companies to adopt robotic solutions. And how we do it is through our no-code interface. So our software runs on the iPad. So using the iPad and the Apple Pencil, you're actually able to program very complex robot trajectories and path plannings while incorporating artificial intelligence like computer vision, machine vision to detect for inspection detection and also for dynamic processes. So dynamic means that the robot can possess eyes and then from there is able to move in 3D space intelligently. So this, I think for us, we have deployed for a couple of different industries and applications, but one of the more fascinating ones are the ones that we have done for the agricultural scene. So dynamic harvesting is a big one for us. Inspections of plants and kind of produce is another big one for us as well. So I think there's a lot of innovation and a lot of applications for AI and robotics in the agricultural space. And I think Polybee and Singrow, Shita and Siddharth will share a lot more later on as well. But yeah, this is a short introduction of what we do at Augmentus. And we're very excited for the discussion later, David.
Thank you, Daryl. Thanks so much for your introduction. And now, how about Sikha? You want to share with us something about you and your company? Sikha, are you muted or you want to?
Yeah, sorry about that.
All right.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. It's a delight to be here. And I'm quite happy to join friends from the industry and also mentors. So just a quick introduction on Polybee. So, as a company, we are on a mission to enhance food security. And to achieve that mission, the means that we have chosen is to improve productivity of high value crops. So what we're doing is we're building autonomous drones for pollination and plant measurements in controlled environment agriculture. So that basically includes greenhouse cultivation, indoor vertical farming. We have 3 main pillars of technology. Number one is a method of pollination that we have developed for the crops that are biggest by market size in indoor farming. Second is computer vision abilities, which enable us to automate the drone platform and also measure certain critical traits on plants. And of course, we also have the ability to deploy these autonomous drones at scale and present all the information on a dashboard. So it's a sort of a three-pronged approach that we have, to improve productivity. The kinds of customers that we work with are seed companies, greenhouses and vertical farms. As for a little bit about myself, so before starting this company, which is a proud spin-off from NUS, I was working as an associate scientist at Temasek Laboratories, NUS. And I didn't really have any sort of ambitions to start a company this soon, but I'm always happy to admit that Polybee is entirely a product of the NUS ecosystem. I was one of the teams at NUS Lean Launchpad, which is a program where researchers like me are encouraged to explore the commercial potential of our skill set and projects. And I think that was more or less the genesis of Polybee. And I kept pursuing it as a side project, got a lot more support and mentorship from the NUS ecosystem, ended up joining the GRIP program, and that's how the company started in 2019. So it's an absolute delight to be here, and I'm quite grateful to the entire NUS ecosystem. Thanks.
Thank you, Sihat. I think it's very fascinating to actually change the rules where we actually do farming, because typically in the traditional farming, pollination is being done by typically insects such as bumblebee, things like that. So I think it's really fascinating to see that what you guys actually has developed to make the pollination even more efficient. All right, so thanks so much for that. So now we have our third panel speaker. He is actually Mr. Xu Tao from Singrow. Xu Tao, hand over to you. Xu Tao, you are muted. Are you muted?
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. Hello everyone, I'm Xu Tao. Now I'm a PhD student, still a PhD student from Department of Biological Science. Now it's my last month as a student. I'm just preparing my thesis.
You have gone through your tough time, right?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, yeah.
Okay, so Singrow now is running an indoor vertical farm in downtown of Singapore. By now, we provide the total solution to grow fresh fruit, vegetables, and herbs in tropical area. For example, we grow the premier fruits such as strawberry in a vertical way. Maybe you can see our farm in my background. It's our strawberries. Now we already provide this strawberry in a very small volume to the public to try to our strawberries. Except this, we also breeding the new plant varieties, which can easily fit the tropical climate. So why we want to have the Singrow in Singapore? Because me and my partner, both of us are from China. Too many vegetables and fruits cannot natural growth in tropical area, but they are very delicious. So both of us only have a very simple wish to grow all the plants in Singapore and feed all the people. Let them try have the experience of the fresh. Singrow is spin off from GRIP Round 2. With the help of GRIP and NUS Enterprise, we could grow faster and settle the farm in 1 year, even in the coronavirus pandemic. And there we also know David, Seha, and Daryl. Hi, David, I just said this.
Okay,
first.
great. Thanks so much, Shitao. I think I visited your indoor farm before. It has the hydroponic system of 6.5 meter high. I think probably is the tallest probably in South Asia at this moment. And I actually tasted your strawberry. Fantastic. All right. So thank you so much, Shitao. So after this introduction, probably we should open up some question for the panel discussion. And then probably I will kick off. My first question, right, to the panel speakers, with the Singapore Food Agency rolling out their 30 by 30 food security initiative, so local farmers are encouraged to increase local production so that we are able to produce 30% of our nutritional needs locally by 2030. So how does your company able to support in achieving this goal? Perhaps we start with Singrow, Shitao.
In my mind, the driving power of future farming is a plant variety, I think, which will like the cheap of farming. So different technology will improve the agriculture, but the new plant variety will change the farming. So Singrow's founders from plant research group, we have advanced knowledge and technology to get new varieties. For example, produce a new plant to fit the special environments. For example, the tropical area or the indoor area, indoor climate. We can also get the new varieties with high yield and low growth cost. One example is Singrow's white strawberry. We breeding it with 6 years by crossing it. It can very well fit the tropical climate and with a very good taste. We except this, we also integrate different technologies to improve the efficiency with plants needed, and produce new integrated platform with our plant variety and relevant growth protocol and facilities. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. I think it's very important that I think Singrow, when they their contributions in terms of the plant physiology and biology, they actually look at how they are able to improve the crops productivity or efficiency via they look at from the biology point of view. So for example, they will be able to generate certain variety of vegetable or fruits that's able to grow faster, flower faster, or even provide more nutrition to the consumer as well. Yeah, and I get to know that Shitao, I think Singrow also help some of the local company to actually set up some indoor farmings, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. That's also contribute to our initiative of 30 by 30. All right.
Yes, I will explain this in next part, maybe.
Okay, great. I think there's a lot of things to share. Okay, so we leave it for next time. All right. Okay. How about Polybee, Siha? What do you think that how does Polybee will be able to support in achieving this 30 by 30 initiative?
Yeah, I think there's a few ways we can do that, and maybe I can just go through them one by one. First is the solution for pollination really empowers farmers in Singapore and companies in Singapore to have the ambition of growing a broader portfolio of crops that are dependent on pollination. And if you look at some of the most widely consumed fruits and vegetables, a good fraction of them depend on pollination. And we don't really have traditional solutions for pollination in Singapore, such as for instance, bees. You do have some indigenous varieties of bees, but you don't really have a market where you can sort of hire beekeepers or sort of buy some hives to do pollination. So that's where we see ourselves contributing in the most immediate sense, which is to allow growers to sort of cultivate a wider portfolio of crops. And I think given the ambition of having 30% of local nutrition needs to be grown locally by 2030, we have to shore up on all fronts and also look at growing crops that are dependent on pollination as well. So that's how we see ourselves fitting in there. And in fact, because of this ambition, that we have hugely benefited from certain tailwinds, in terms of support from a variety of organizations in Singapore. And I just like to take a quick moment of how that has helped us. So early in the early days, in probably 2019 or so, I had just reached out to Singapore Food Agency, and I just dropped a cold email to them and said, hey, I realized that you have set this ambitious goal of 30 by 30, and I imagine you might have to grow a broad portfolio of fruit crops. And what I have in my head is an idea to pollinate, basically automate the process of pollination, because I don't really see using bees as an intuitive solution to this. I don't see that to be an easy thing to do. So they got back, they set up a meeting, and they said, you're absolutely right. We have been looking for companies or research groups to pick up this problem, and we're glad that you're doing so. So we're going to give you all the support that we can. And they helped to set up a test bed where we started initially sort of completing the proof of concept of our technology, made quick progress in a few months' time, and then got subsequent support from organizations like the Massive Foundation. So I think SFA really helped us reinforce and validate that sort of a proposition where this tool is going to be key to widen Singapore's portfolio of crops in the next decade. So that's one. The second piece to this is something that Shutal just mentioned, which is quite critical, is our ability to breed new varieties of crops that are more climate resilient, and sort of are able to better address the consumer needs in terms of quality, nutrition, and so on. And what we're really building here is a platform which allows you to not just pollinate crops, but also collect high resolution plant measurements. And this ability is critical to breeding new varieties of crops really fast. We've made quick progress in understanding the genome of the plant, but we haven't really made as much progress in understanding the phenotypes or the physical traits of the plants and be able to measure them. Unless we're able to measure that, we can't really map those traits to the genome. And that's, it's a long-standing problem in plant breeding. It's called the phenotyping bottleneck. So we see ourselves playing a role there as well, which is more of a long-term solution, and not just in Singapore. This is a global solution. We're already working with global seed companies, to do that. So that's how we see ourselves, sort of addressing and contributing to food security, not just in Singapore, but globally.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Shihad. I think in current situation, right? I think we have to really look beyond the traditional farming, because I think previously it has been using improvement in certain hardware, introduce certain mechanical processes to actually improve our yield crops. But however, the improvements are rather limited, probably 5%, 10%, then the farmers will be quite happy. I think with these innovative technologies that you guys are developed, I think the entire improvement or advancement to the farming technologies are really exponential in terms of the growth. Yeah, so I really appreciate that what you guys have actually done. And then also have to appreciate all the efforts being done by our government agency, SFA, Enterprise Singapore, as well as our corporate private companies that actually has put in the effort to make sure that we actually will be able to achieve the 30 by 30 food security initiative. All right. So thanks so much. And then how about Daryl? What's your opinion in that? How would Augmentus and you yourself able to contribute to the 30 by 30 initiative?
Yeah, thanks, David. So actually, before started on Augmentus, we speak to quite a number of both advanced manufacturing companies as well as agricultural companies. Some of the big MNCs and some of the small MNCs. And I think for us, one of the biggest issues in this space is that there is no precedent in automation in this avenue. But for me, my background was in advanced manufacturing and computing automation. So those industries have dozens of years, I think decades actually, of years of experience, right, of running this kind of automation. So it's very efficient. The ROI, the return on investment, is already justified. It's very proven. So system integrators sell solutions rather than just selling parts of solutions, which is a very big statement actually, because when we came into this industry from the get-go, we provided a part of the solution, which for us we felt was the biggest part, which is the software, the dynamicness of agricultural work. But the more we dive deeper into this, the more we realize that it's not just one part. You need the entire chain. And I think this is something probably Shitao feels very heavily strong as well, because he's doing the entire system, right? And it's not easy. So for us, we provide that platform to integrate the different components together and also to program it in a way that makes sense from a dynamic standpoint. Because from agriculture side, the plants don't grow in fixed patterns like in manufacturing, right? It's so controlled. This is not controlled at all. It can be very randomized in certain aspects. So it's very important to have that dynamic, account for that dynamic nature. And also you need to take into account that we are still at the very early stages of this automation in this industry. So there is going to be a lot of prototyping, a lot of R&D, a lot of A/B testing, if you will. And I do strongly feel that where Augmentus fits in this entire equation is that firstly, we provide a very fast and cost-effective way for companies to automate from a software side. So you don't have to hire dozens of robot engineers, right? You just need the software to run. And secondly, we provide that ability to use computer vision and AI to assist the workflow. So that is where we saw a lot of the value, where we fit in inside this problem statement that we saw, which was a very big one. I don't think that we solve it on our own. I think working together with companies like Singrow, like Polybee, I think that's where we achieve a more full stack, fully integrated solution for this problem. And I think it's just the solutions are just going to keep coming, and it's just going to keep innovating as well. But I think 2 years ago, when we were kind of embarking on this industry and this problem, till now, there has been significant strides. And I'm pretty excited for what's to come. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think, Daryl, you're right. I think in order to achieve the initiative, right, about SFA, I think it's really a collective effort from all stakeholders in the ecosystem. So I think there are people who actually want to do on the automation part, like Augmentus. Somebody addressed on the pollination, which is very critical. If you want to get fruits, you need to flower. In order for you to transfer the flowering into the fruits, you need a pollination process. All right. So, and also in order for the crops or the fruits or vegetable to grow well, they need a very good hardware and environment, and also need some very nice and very resilient variety for them to make that happen. So I think it's really a group effort, a team effort of all the stakeholders within this ecosystem. All right, so I'm trying to assume, okay, if you are able to address our initiative currently, so how about looking beyond? Okay, so what are your plans to grow your business? Because as probably we know, Singapore, the markets are pretty small. Okay, so in order for you to be more successful, you have to go international. So I just wanted to know that, do you really have any plans to grow your business? And then do you really intend to go overseas? And then what are the possible challenges that you may foresee? Maybe we start with Singrow, Shitao.
Now, now we already have two partners to build their farm with our total solution. One is in Singapore, one is in Pathan Islands. This year, we will have a subsidiary company in Hangzhou, China. It will help us to expand our technology to China, except Hangzhou, we also explore the potential of Chongqing and the other cities of China. Exactly, except China, now some Middle East companies and the Russian companies also trying to build a vertical farm in their country with our technology. So I think in this stage, the challenge maybe the policy in different countries, and we also need to face the competition with their local traditional farming. So in this stage, we mainly focus on to provide the total solution and grows high value vegetables, fruit, and herbs. Yeah, that's all.
Okay, so you tend to like focus on those premium fruits and vegetables, right? So that
Yes,
you
yes.
don't really in competition with the traditional farming farms in the rest the other part of the world. So if you go China, typically you're competing with those large greenhouses, large piece of land of farming.
Yeah,
So probably you may want to like focus only on premium high quality kind of crops and fruits.
Yeah, that's why we also want to try to explore Chongqing, Hangzhou, Shanghai, and this big city.
Okay, okay. Thanks for that. How about Siha? What do you think that what's your plan for Polybee in terms of your expansion and business growth?
Right. So, since the very early days, we realized that the solutions that we are building are of global relevance, and I think that's something that is shared by most, deep tech ventures. Right. You're tackling a really fundamental problem, which is sort of important to all of mankind, all geographies, all regions. That's also relevant to us. So if you just look at the kinds of customers that we engage with, seed companies, greenhouse operators, vertical farms, the distribution of such companies is global. Since the very early days, we have been conversing with multinational seed companies, greenhouse operators based overseas in countries like the Netherlands, Australia, vertical farms, coming up in regions like East Coast of US, Japan, Singapore, UAE. So, since the very early days, we knew that the problem that we need to solve is global in nature. And ever since we've made quick progress, back in the day when it was okay to travel, we were able to conduct some trials with global seed companies. We saw some, really promising results based on which, we were preparing for follow-up trials, but given the conditions, there have been obvious delays in that. So which kind of brings me to, the challenge around, deploying our solutions globally. Just something that Darren mentioned a while ago, is that when you have such complex technologies, it takes a while to iterate and get to a point where anyone can use it. And I think they're doing fantastic work there in terms of, abstracting out the complexities of robotics and, allowing customers to deploy it easily. I think we sort of face a similar challenge here, right? Because now with the kind of, market pool that we've experienced from so many companies and geographies, we do not want travel restrictions to be a bottleneck for our growth. So the approach that team has now taken is to build our technology in a way where it's as simple as shipping the equipment to our customers, them following the standard operational procedure, and deploying our sort of drones for be it pollination or plant measurements. That's the kind of product that we need to build now. It's something that we had anticipated, but the pandemic has accelerated the need to do so, which I think is in some sense a silver lining for us. It forces us to think and build our technology in a way that is robust, works 10 times out of 10 when it's shipped to someone else who's never used it before. So that's the challenge that we face, which is deploying overseas as a startup. But what it has also forced us to do is build a highly scalable solution early on, and not let travel restrictions inhibit our growth.
Yeah. So I believe that with so many supports from our government agency, And then we have really a very friendly agritech ecosystem at this moment in Singapore. So I think we should be able to overcome all those challenges. So thank you, Siha and Shitao, for that question. So I actually have a question from the audience. That is also related to our next question that we want to discuss about. So the question is, to what extent can technology boost our local production? And given the limited land space, for example, there is a suggestion that in Netherlands, they actually have the underwater farm. Okay, so I also get to know that in Korea, they actually are using the space where it's been occupied by Subway to actually grow a vertical farm over there. So, so I actually wanted to understand, what do you think? What do you envision for modern farming in the future? So maybe Daryl, you can share with us all of your opinion.
Yeah, so actually this is something that I was discussing with one of our partner companies a while back. So it's like underwater. It sounds a bit outlandish, to be honest. I mean, but I do think it is the future, actually, because especially for small companies, small countries like Singapore, there needs to be ways in which we can grow our crops in a sustainable manner. And as I think I was looking at the chat, some of them also pointed out like seaweed. Seaweed harvesting is actually pretty economical and sustainable as well. So that's I think it's a very, very good point you mentioned. But also another one I wanted to share is that when I was speaking to some of our counterparts in Indonesia and Thailand, and the reality in those countries is that land is not too much of an issue. I think the issue is that when the workers start upskilling themselves, when they start getting higher production value, they wouldn't want to be doing farming anymore, for instance. So they will want to kind of automate the entire process in those countries. So different countries have different problem statements, I would say that. Singapore currently right now, our land is very scarce. That's why what Shitao is doing with Singrow to do vertical, like very high. I think David, you mentioned the tallest in Southeast Asia.
6.5 meter high.
It's crazy. I mean, that is impressive. I think that solves one of the issues. And then secondly, of course, is the labor cost issue. That's where automation comes in. I mean, with Siddharth and myself, right? Imagine doing pollination manually and with bees, I mean, it doesn't seem to be that sustainable and that scalable. So I would say in Singapore, vertical farms and will help solve the issue. But I think underwater farming is going to play a big part in the future as well. I don't think that the technology is ready because I come from the automation side and I don't see a lot of automation equipment being built for underwater use because there's no precedence. There's no such thing as a manufacturing facility because money drives innovation, right? And manufacturing was one of the biggest drivers for innovation. That's why we got robots, because of that manufacturing boom. There is no real manufacturing that's happening underwater. So that's why there is no real commercial solution at the moment. But I do think it's going to come. It's just a matter of time. That's my 2 cents on it. Yeah.
Thank you, Daryl. Okay, how about Sikha? Do you have any opinion on that? On I mean, how are we going to roll out new technologies that are able to address on some of the challenges currently, for example, space issue, and what you actually envision on modern farming in the future?
Yeah, sure. So I'd like to maybe take a step back and just take a look at what the food supply chain looks like and what is the distribution of agricultural products that we consume. And first look at that, try to point out some trends there, and then maybe sort of cascade down to the specific case of Singapore. So largely speaking, how I like to think about it is most agricultural products fall into 3 main categories. One is your staple products, that's rice, wheat, soybean, corn, which are, as we call them, commodity crops. And I think there are certain sort of, I think generally speaking, the world has done really well to come to a point where we have such abundance for these crops. And we still have to grapple with certain challenges that are coming up, especially related to climate change, so that's the most, I'd say, critical factor that's going to affect production of staple crops. But what's helpful in that case is that they have very long shelf life. So your means of production need not necessarily be geographically super close to where you are in terms of consumers, right? So I think that's one important piece to just observe. The second category of a lot of food products is perishables, right? So that's fresh fruits and vegetables, leafy greens, and all sorts of fruits and even nuts, and so on. And those kind of products are finicky to grow as well. What we're observing now in terms of trends is, populations are increasingly more aware of nutrition. Everyone's paying attention to consuming sufficient portions of fruits and vegetables. I think finally everyone's taking their grandmother's advice seriously, and that's going to lead to higher sort of demand in the sector. And the other factor that needs to be taken into account is more populations will be living in urban areas, right? So your means of production also needs to move closer to cities for perishable crops. So that's the second category of agricultural products. And then the last one is meat products, and that includes beef, pork, chicken, dairy products, and so on. And again, that piece is a tricky one as well. I'm not super familiar with the nuances of it, but what I'd like to say is there's good reason to believe why we should start looking beyond traditional sources of protein, and some of the companies in Singapore are doing absolutely phenomenal work there. I'm such a big fan of those kinds of companies. So essentially those are three main categories of agricultural products. If you look at Singapore's context now, right, we perhaps cannot take care of everything, and we sort of need to see what is it that is within our control and what is it that needs to be managed on a certain level, right? So if you look at the staple crops, probably we'll never see rice fields or huge corn or soybean fields in Singapore anytime, right? So probably that problem in terms of resilience can be solved more often on a policy level, where we try to decentralize sort of the sources and de-risk the supply chains. But I have a feeling that's a problem that largely needs to be solved on a policy level. When it comes to perishable, yes, I think that's an exciting area where companies like Singrow will, help us grow fresh produce, and sort of, make it more accessible. And that's something that needs to be worked on, right? Because the perishables have to be grown close to cities. You don't really have an option there. So that's something that I see, in Singapore. The big issue there, I think, is still energy. I'm pretty sure Shutao can speak to that a lot more than I can in terms of unit economics. But I think that's going to be a challenge to tackle in Singapore specifically. And then when it comes to alternative sources of protein, again, I think we've seen some really promising startups and companies in Singapore who are not just who are not only looking at the Singapore market, but are already shipping their products overseas. So that's how I see the entire distribution and evolution of the of food and ag, generally speaking, where we'll see certain things happening in Singapore, but some of them may not exactly be entirely within our control.
Yeah, I think my opinions on these topics, right, is that I think high-tech farming, right, is very critical in mega cities. Yeah, in mega cities where the land are scarce, there's limited land, and you are talking about perishable crops like vegetables and fruits. So if you are able to when we actually do the urban planning, if you are able to integrate those vertical farming, okay, within the design of the building or within the community, I think that will address some of the concern and some of the imbalance in terms of the supply chain for our perishable nutrients supply. Yeah, so I think that is important. But there are certain crops that we really cannot really realize the in the mega city because they need a large piece of the land. Yeah, so therefore, for those kind of crops, I think we have to rely on the traditional farming. Okay, so basically, I think it's a collective effort that we try to bring those crops or vegetables or fruits that were able to grow within our cities, that try to bring it nearer to where the consumers are, so that we are also at the same time able to reduce some of the logistic chain. Yeah, and then also eventually we'll reduce some of the carbon footprint as well. Yeah, so that's my opinion, and I think this trend is going to be getting stronger and stronger for our future. Yeah, that's my opinion on that. All right. Okay. I know that three of y'all know each other very well, and then you are collaborating with each other. So how does such a collaboration benefits the development of your technology and product or solutions? So maybe we start with Singrow.
Okay, so for farming and 30 by 30 goals, I think only Singrow is not enough. Since we are the few high-tech farm in Singapore, now we are provide our farm area for at least 4 NUS spin-off companies as an innovation hub, including except the Augmentus and Polybee. We also provide our farm to New Soil, spin-off from GRIP Round 1, and the Augmentus system spin-off from I think it haven't spin-off, but it attends GRIP Round 6, I think. Through this, we hope our farm will provide the space to these companies. Then they can develop new technologies to fit the needed of new types of farming. Then in future, we will also integrate their technologies in our platform as one of the solution to expand their application to other countries. For example, Singrow design a special strawberry picking robotic, and also design a flowering pollination system, and both of these systems are cooperate with Dario and Seha. So I think in future, these two different technologies will integrate our platform. So finally, we hope we could have an ecosystem in farm area of Singapore. Then I think in future, Singapore could guide the farm area in the world. Yeah.
Okay, thanks so much. Yeah, Daryl, you actually help up Singrow, right, to develop their harvesting system. You want to share with us how does that collaboration actually help your company in terms of the development of your technology and your products?
Yeah, so last year, I believe, it's been some time already.
Yeah.
It's been I think over a year, close to 2 years. We met up with the Singrow team. We saw their vision, very impressive. So for us, we already had some projects in the advanced manufacturing space, but we knew that agriculture is going to be a very, very big thing. And we were developing some systems that were going to be crucial for agriculture use, like computer vision, machine vision, and so on, because these are required for dynamic harvesting solutions. So actually, Singrow was one of the first few agricultural companies that used our platform to build their dynamic harvesting solutions a bit faster, a bit more cost effective. Because without us, they'll probably need to hire quite a few robot engineers and AI specialists. It just doesn't make sense from an economical standpoint. So I mean, and I think in terms of visions, we align very well, because we want to lower the barrier for companies like them to revolutionize automation in their respective industries. So we want to be that foundation platform. And I think that was where we saw the synergy. And in terms of how we benefited it, I think we benefited a lot, because we really understood the crux, the nitty-gritties of this kind of strawberry harvesting solutions. Because we are experts in advanced manufacturing. I think that is something that we know very well, robotics, automation in that industry. But the complexities that arise in agricultural automation is by and large a lot more complex. Complex because it's more randomized, it's more dynamic. Complex because the parts it's not optimized for automation. So like if you do computer vision, sometimes you can't detect certain things because things are blocking each other, right?
Yeah.
And that is not easy. So I think for us, we learned a lot through this entire process. So I'm very thankful for Chitao and the team as well. And working with them has been pretty incredible. I think I've learned a lot, and I hope I've given a lot as well.
Yeah. So one thing good about Augmentus that they really have a very user-friendly platform that's able to realize the automation. So I actually have also participated in the discussion with them for Singrow harvesting system, and they can really use their platform to generate the output pretty fast in a very short time. So that one is really some of the strength of Augmentus, and then we just need to leverage on that platform, and then we are able to realize other integration of other kind of automation to indoor farming. Yeah. So but there's always challenges in integrating all those technology into the farm. For example, how are you going to mount your robotic arm onto the vertical hydroponic system? So that has been quite challenging, but I'm quite glad that you guys actually have solved that as well. All right. So Sikha, what do you think? I think you have a collaboration in terms of pollination with Singrow, helping them to pollinate their strawberries. So what's your experience on that?
Yeah, it's been a phenomenal learning curve for the team, and it was, yeah, I think it's critical in the early days to iterate in an environment that is representative of where a solution needs to be deployed in the coming years. And of course, I think it's fair to say that Singrow has the biggest strawberry farm in town. So, quite fortunate to have access to such a facility. We are, super grateful to the entire team at Singrow for, being willing to, sort of welcome solutions like ours into their farms. And, what this has helped us is, quickly, get down to the numbers and see how much is the improvement that we can offer. And I think the results have been extremely promising. So, again, if not for collaboration, we would have kept guessing, what does the unit economics look like, and what should the pricing model be like? So we get immediate feedback from Singrow's team. The results are for everyone to see. It's all in black and white. So I think that's immensely critical in early days. Because we can make up some assumptions and sort of be in fool's paradise about how effective the solution is, but this is a reality check every single day, right? You're going to run into some new problem every single day and you have to solve it. So that is only possible if you have such an environment to work in. So we are quite delighted to do that with Singrow. And I think in the long term, once we're still sort of consolidating the results, but they look extremely promising. But in a few months' time, we really hope to work out a sort of a long-term, sort of partnership where, a company like Singrow, can be an excellent distribution channel, like Shita mentioned, for our technology. And, and I think those are the kinds of, partnerships that you seek as a startup, because, again, most of us based in Singapore, distribution is always going to be a key challenge to address. So, if we are able to sort of collaborate in that particular space, I think it can go a long way.
Yeah, thank you so much. I actually have seen your drone. Can you actually update us what is the size of your drone at this moment? If it is not confidential, it's pretty small.
It's not getting any smaller than that, I'm afraid.
Right.
Not for the near future, but right now it's basically a palm-sized drone. It can fit on your palm easily, roughly 9 centimeters in size. So I'm not sure if the audience can tell the dimensions of the racks in Shuta's background image. But it's roughly the clearance is something like 20 to 25 centimeters between the lights and the plants. So what we've done is we've built a drone system that allows the drone to fly within that narrow clearance. So our positioning systems have sub-centimeter accuracy. It's something that we had to build, for a space like vertical farms. And Singrow's vertical farms are, I think, representative of what we'll see more of when it comes to strawberry cultivation. So I think it's a great environment to start things off with, and we've already managed to bring it to a point where it can be deployed day in and day out. And we soon hope to sort of, in the next couple of months, we hope to bring it to a point where our team doesn't even need to go down, and it will be Singrow's team who can just deploy the drones all by themselves.
Yeah. That's great. I think just to share with the audience, right? Sometimes the entire integration or collaboration is more complex than what we have ever thought before. For example, in the collaboration we do Sihat and Shitao, you know that plants, they are 3D, right? So people always imagine it's 2D, right? So in fact, for the drone, right, to be able to identify every of the flower, then I think it's quite challenging. The drone really have to fly in to the racks and then to identify those flowers. And then don't forgetting some of the flowers will be blocked by the leaves. All right. So it's way more complicated and way more complex when they are doing this kind of collaboration. All right, so I'm quite happy that three of y'all really collaborate with each other, and then hopefully we'll come up with something that is very robust, that we are able to bring it out to commercially to the not only in Singapore, probably to the international market. Yeah, so yeah, I think it's something that is very enlightening, and yeah, I certainly look for any of your invention or products being commercialized in the market in future, and probably very soon. Okay, okay. Okay, I also get to know that just now, see how you mentioned you participate in LLP, okay, and then also GRIP. Okay, so Daryl, you came out from the NOC program.
Yep.
Yep, and then Shitao participated in a GRIP program. So to some extent, you guys actually has participated in some of the NUS program during your startup journeys. So in what way does the program really supported you, and where were your biggest learning point to date? Any volunteers?
All right, I'll go for this one.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I think what really stands out about NUS as an ecosystem is that there are programs at different levels, right? So first up, you have the Lean Launchpad program, where it's just the first step, baby steps for researchers to just take a step out of their labs and see what they can do, beyond their day-to-day research. And I think it serves as a great premise to start exploring the commercial potential of your skill set as well as your projects. The commitment is really, I'd say, manageable, and I think it just helps. It's refreshing for a researcher to just go through the process for 10 weeks and just see what comes out of it, right? I think it's just that exploratory spirit, which I think is super helpful and enjoyable, to be honest, at least for me. And after once you graduate from a Lean Launchpad cohort, the instructors are very clear about what are your next steps, what are the opportunities that you can take up within the NUS ecosystem to move forward, right? So then you have the TAP funding, you have GRIP, and there's enough advice available for you to decide what's appropriate for your specific context. For me, it was NUS GRIP, and actually we also benefited from the TAP program, to be honest. So we've kind of been able to benefit from so many of these programs, right? So that's what I mean. At Lean Launchpad, just exploratory, just to see if anything interesting can come out of your idea. Second is NUS GRIP or TAP program, where it's time to get your hands dirty, start building prototypes, prove your technology. And then after that, you're in a good position to raise funding and move forward. So, I think the underlying theme here is that, at least this is from a personal point of view. I think the biggest contribution that the NUS ecosystem had for me was de-risking venture building, and I could do all of this, without having to worry too much about funding, without having to sort of, worry about some simple things like facilities for prototyping, and getting support in prototyping and so on. So as a founder, you can just really focus on the real problems, and you can do so in an environment that has been significantly de-risked for you through these kinds of programs. So I believe that was the biggest contribution. It's also why I had sufficient time to focus on the problem and form sort of an objective thesis around it. And then it came to a point where I was quite confident this is the way to go. And I think I could only get to that point because I was in the NUS ecosystem. So I think that was the biggest contribution across the board through different programs at different levels.
Yeah. How about Shitao? Shitao actually participated in GRIP. Yeah. What was your experience? How does a GRIP program supported you? And then what would be your biggest learning points?
As a biggest learning point from GRIP is how to convert my research thinking to the enterprise as an enterprise man. So because in research lab, you must focus on one single project and one single goals. But when you're thinking about it, you must focus on it. But for running a company, it's total different thing. So you must consider different aspects of this thing. And here I'm very glad to with the help of GRIP to change my mind from a researcher to the enterprise. Yeah, this is a big point.
Okay. So you sort of like transform, right, over the 3 months acceleration program from the GRIP, right?
Yes.
From a scientist that always thinking about experiments to somebody that is eventually designing their commercial products and eventually executing that plans, and then now you are actually a commercial company.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about Daryl? Daryl actually has participated in the NOC, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So you want to tell us more about what is NOC, and then how do you really benefited of that program?
Sure. NOC is the NUS Overseas College. A lot of people confuse it for, especially the younger ones, they confuse it for 9 Hour Cinematics. It's a YouTube channel, so they always confuse it. But it's a NUS Overseas College. It's a very prestigious and good program. You see notable companies like Shopback, like Carousel, right? They all came from NOC. I think Tech in Asia recently did a very good article about like the NOC mafia. You guys can check it out. It's quite a good article. But NOC basically is an entrepreneurship program that allows students, mainly undergraduates, to participate in overseas entrepreneurship internship opportunities, learn from it, learn what makes a successful startup, then bring it back to Singapore, and hopefully start a venture of yourself. Something like what I did for Augmentus. And for me, I think it was very, very helpful because I really understood the nitty-gritties of running a business. So for me, I think I'm a bit unique. I have a bit unique position is that I run a business before. So I definitely know how to operate it. But I think innovating is a completely different space. So innovation, you need to really think out of the box, have a lot of user testing, user experience and feedback. And that's what the NOC experience really doubles down a lot on, and I really took it to heart. So for me, that was one of the key learnings. And being part of the NUS community, as what Siddharth and Shitao mentioned, it's pretty incredible because you really get a lot of mentors. I mean, I met David quite a while back as well, and I think I asked you quite a lot of questions the first time I met. So
yes,
I mean, I do consider you to be one of our early mentors as well, David. So
I like to work with those NUS staff and students that really have passionate in become an entrepreneur. I typically will support them to my best. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, but it's really that community. I mean, that's how I met Shitao, Shukjia, I mean, Siddharth as well. We were in the same co-working space for a while. I think it's incredible, and I do think the NUS community is just going to keep growing and growing, especially with the new successes that they've had as well. Yeah, and GRIP is an incredible program. Yeah.
Okay, thanks so much. Yeah, just to clarify, I think just now Siha actually mentioned about TAP. Okay, TAP actually stands for Technology Acceleration Program. actually is currently it has been named as GAP. Okay, so with a new funding, it has been renamed to GAP. So that TAP grant is actually to help our existing NUS technology, right? For example, the scientists actually generate out IP, new technologies, and they think that somehow the technology needs certain enhancement parallel the commercialization. So NUS actually provided a TAP grant for the scientist or the principal investigator or the professor to actually use that funding to further enhance their existing technology so that they are more ready for commercialization. So I'm so glad that Siha actually has benefited from that TAP grant from NUS. All right. Okay. That's really interesting. I think like really, I think audience, I think you should start to consider be entrepreneur because you have so many supports in the ecosystem. Okay, please think through. Okay, come out and be an entrepreneur. Okay, so I do have a question to the panel. Okay, so I always respect, as I mentioned just now, those who take the courage to move out from their comfort zone and to become an entrepreneur, starting your own startups. Yeah. So what did your family or your partners or friends think when they first when you first started out? So did you face any resistance or objection from people around you? So yeah, I open up for a discussion. So Shitao, you want to start with that?
Yes, exactly. Singrow is my second startup company.
Okay.
Before I come to Singapore, I have another agriculture startup company, but that company is not like not like what Singrow do. It's very simple, so that's why I very glad to with GRIP's help to change my mind. I still need the transition, and so for the startup company, I think my family already understanding what I'm doing, so they always support me. But my best challenge, I think, is how to balance my PhD study and running the company. It's a very huge problem. So, and here I want to thank GRIP and David again, because with your help, Singrow runs on the right track in a very short time. So, so it gives me a lot of time and let me focus on my research and to improve Singrow's technology. Yeah.
Yeah, just to add on, so I actually Shitao actually he is actually from GRIP Run 2, and then I
Yeah.
actually is the venture development manager, so-called like account manager for them. So I basically is their babysitter lah. So I like when they came into the program, I started forming the team with them, and I work out all their assignments together with them. I find them customers, and then you know, a lot of things. Even after they gone through the GRIP 3 months acceleration program, I still have very close bonding with them. All right, so so typically a lot of time their problem is my problem lah. So I like address a lot of their concern. For example, I think the wife is very supportive, but at certain point, the wife actually has to go back to China to pursue her career. So this was the time where she told like very pressurized. Okay, so have to juggle the PhD program that he has, Singrow, as well as the family pressure, you know, things like that. So I think it's really tough to be entrepreneur, but I'm quite sure the rewards will be very satisfying. Okay, down the road. All right. So Siha, you have any challenges when you have decided to start up start out Polybee, because I always have a feel that you are actually having a entrepreneurship chip built into you. Yeah, from the way you speak to people, from the way you strategize your company, no. So you have anything to share with us? Any challenges you have faced when you are starting out?
Thanks for those kind words, David. But in all honesty, I didn't have ambitions to start a company this soon. I because I come again also from an academic background. I was largely involved in research, and I was about to go for graduate school in the US for a PhD in 2018, and somehow I had a sort of a hunch that it wasn't a resounding yes. I didn't feel like this is the right thing to do. I had applied anyway. I had admissions, but I was a bit hesitant to press the button on it. So I just took, I just deferred the admission, and I thought I'll take a year to decide what I really want to do. And in that year, I was just exploring, trying to see what's interesting out there, what kind of technologies are, exciting. And that phase, I ended up joining Lean Launchpad, and that's how it, started on its own course. So, it was in that sense, the sort of transition from being in academics to starting a company was quite gradual and, non-dramatic, I would say, because I was working on this for a good few months, and, there was this confidence in taking the step was steadily growing. So in that sense, it wasn't, I wouldn't say smooth, but it wasn't dramatic. In terms of support from friends, I mean, I have a lot of founder friends. So if anything, they were asking me, why haven't you started up yet, right? So there was a lot of support from the friends. And family as well. I mean, they just backed me with my decisions all in all. And my parents are still based in India. I grew up in India. My sister is in the States. So, I mean, I still converse with them every now and then. And, I would just talk about them about this whole side project. I'm looking at these kind of problems in agriculture. So initially there was a bit of surprise, like, we didn't know you had an interest in agriculture. So there was a bit of more of fascination around it, and they were just fascinated that I was looking into a new area. But all the way through, there was support. So I was quite fortunate in that sense.
Yeah, thanks so much. I think you really have a very supportive family, as well as your friends surrounding you. Yeah. How about Daryl? Have you faced any problem when you're starting out? Probably because I think you have startup experience, right? Prior to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think every startup is a new startup. so for me, I faced quite a fair bit as well.
All right.
I think for me, it's going to be a bit similar to what Siddharth mentioned as well. But I guess I'll give a different one from it. Is that I think when we started Augmentus, because there was a lot of robotics, kinematics, algorithms that needs to be developed before we can even have a product that we can consider an MVP. So we needed to spend the early days. So all of us were just coding and developing and finding customers for user testing and feedback. It was a very time-consuming process, but it was a crucial part of of a robotic startup to really go through this try and test it approach. So for us, I think that was a difficult one. Was trying to find partners, customers that are willing to work together with us, an incomplete product. And wait it out to maturity, because I think with Polybee and Singrow, deep tech companies in general does take time to mature. It's not some normal like marketplace, right? Within a few weeks you can get a pretty solid MVP out. You need to make sure it's stable, because produce output economical benefits are affected. So for us, I think that was a big challenge. How do we find the right partners, the right clients that is willing to go through the journey with us, right? That believe in our product so much to the point where they'll believe, yes, okay, let's sign an MOU, let's purchase your product, even when it's not complete. I think that was a difficult one, but I think for us, we managed to find the right target audience, and we slowly made the way we are today. So yeah.
Great. Thanks for sharing that with us. For my experience is that I actually have 3 startups. So on my very first startups, right, actually when I told my wife that I want to do a startup, then she was like, how? you means that you are getting no salary. That kind of questions start to come out, from her. Then I think I just assure them that it's just a short term, and then we have saving. So we will just push that through, and then eventually, because it's a very promising startups, so I managed to convince her that it seems that something is calling me lah, that I need to like pursue further rather than to get a 9 to 5 job. So therefore, I actually has identified a technologies that I really love. I want to try on. So eventually, she supported me, encouraging me to go further for this. And the startup, in fact, not a startup, it's a company now, and still surviving, still doing pretty well in China. Yeah. So therefore, I think I have no regrets. Totally no regrets, and in fact, I would like to encourage more NUS researcher or the staff or students to actually, even the alumni, to actually think about in your lifetime. There's particular one stage that probably you may want to do something that you really like, rather than you work for somebody, so that is really a very fulfilling, very satisfying journey. All right. Okay, thanks so much. I think it's a very, very nice sharing today with three of y'all. So now maybe we shall open up for the Q&A session to the audience. And to be frank, we actually received a overwhelming question from them. Yeah. So probably I will open up some of these questions to the panel for a discussion. If I'm unable or we are unable to address your question, don't worry. We will get back to you, okay, and then to address of your answer of your question. All right. So okay, first question is this one is quite near to the our daily life. All right. So China News Asia previously reported that the demand for vegetables from soy-based farms at NTUC fair price is still higher than for those from the high-tech farm. So are there any misconception about such product? Yeah, it means that most of the consumers still, or maybe the retail supermarket are still selling more in terms of the soy-based vegetable, and lesser from the indoor farming. So is it because there's a misconception among the consumer as well as the retail supermarket? So anyone want to pick up this question for discussion?
Okay, I think for this question, I don't think it's a mistake, because when you buy the product, fruit or vegetables from fair price or other supermarkets, you just buy the product, right? You can't distinguish which is from the traditional farming or the high-tech farming. So I think now the limitation is the scale of the high-tech farming. If the scale is good enough, I think there will don't have difference between the two.
So Shitao, there is a cost issue over here, is it?
Yeah.
Because the indoor farmings are typically higher cost compared to the soy-based vegetables. So there is a cost concern over the consumer, rather than because of the quality of safety of the vegetable, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but exactly, I think it's still because the space limitation and the scale, because for the agriculture products, you must have a big enough space to produce them. So and another side, if by now the technology is good enough, I think. So that's why we three companies together do this, and that's why Singapore have the 30 by 30 goals, because we must develop the technologies in future, because this technology is the future. So I think in future this don't have difference.
Okay, so how do you address this in your strawberry that you are actually you are working on it, strawberry? How do you address the cost issue in this case?
Yeah, you know, this is the most important point. Just what just I said, because the plant variety is the chip of the future farming. So we first develop the new variety of strawberries. It can very well fit the environment of tropical area. So that's because this varieties we could grow it in the indoor condition and use a very low energy cost. For example, we don't need the air condition. In my mind, I think most of the modern indoor farm, they always use air con. So this is a very big part of the cost. After this, I think we also integrate, also cooperate with, for example, Daryl and Sheha. We developed the new technologies to reduce the very high manpower cost. And at least by now, we already did these two things. I think in future, with the development of the technology and our new varieties developments, I think the cost will reduce further.
Okay, so I think based on your opinions, probably one way of actually targeting on reducing the cost, right, for all those hydroponics or indoor farms, crops as well as vegetables or fruits, probably is to actually look at the plant variety,
Yeah.
where you develop new varieties that are able to provide higher yield, okay, and can grow faster. And then coupled with the automation as well as the excellent technology from pollination, I think we are able to progressively reduce the cost for vegetable or crops out from the indoor farming, right? So
Yeah.
that's probably the message that we want to bring across to the audience. Yeah. All right. So okay. So there is also a question that is asking about funding. Okay, so the question is actually in this: would more funding from the government enable the sector to grow faster? What else needs to happen before before Singapore can reduce reliance on imported fruits and vegetables? So this is a question being posted from the audience. So Siha, you want to address on that?
That's a fantastic question, and yeah, I think funding is just the first step, but there needs to be the appropriate space where these technologies can be deployed, and where each of these different streams of technologies can come together to start actually delivering on the promise of food security. So I think one important step in that direction has been the development of the Lim Chu Kang area by SFA. So quite recently, I'm not sure if our if our audience members are aware, but there was a sort of an open dialogue with the agtech ecosystem to just collect views and opinions and feedback, and sort of try to sort of view it together into a unified vision for that particular space in Singapore, which it's a sizable area, which can actually deliver a significant fraction of the 30 by 30 goal. So I think those are the kinds of initiatives which will be the next step after sort of kickstarting technologies through funding. And I see a lot of promise from that particular space in Singapore, where probably the first step that we'll see is a deployment and testing of each of these different technologies, which you eventually start yielding results, and maybe 5 to 10 years down the line, you'll actually have productive farming area which starts sort of contributing to different categories of crops. So I think that's a good first step. But you know, there will be certain areas which still need to be addressed, such as cost of energy, which I don't think there's an easy solution to, and probably it's a more fundamental problem than which is not just relevant to agtech. But yeah, I think the Limchikang area and its development is a great step forward.
Okay, that's great. I think that's actually sending a message that I think the government agency has actually done a lot in terms of providing us a very conducive environment for us to introduce modern farming, and particularly those that actually will have a high efficiency, highly productive crops for us to achieve their goal of 30 by 30. Yeah. Okay, that's great. Okay, I have another question from the audience. All right. So the question is it true that vertical farming requires more energy input compared to field farming? All right, because sunlight is free. Okay, so therefore a need to develop renewable and alternative energy technologies to ensure environmental sustainability and energy efficiency. Give the high dependency on tech energy, what are the commensurate risk and contingency provision? So Shitao and Daryl, you want to take on these questions?
Yeah, I guess I can start first. Then I think Shitao will probably have a much better answer than me.
Yeah, he has something. He actually work on this.
Yeah, he's a bit of an expert, not too. but basically for robotics and automation, I mean energy is a requirement. But I wouldn't say that it requires too much. So small robotic arms like the ones that Shitao will be using you can be run off a 24 watt kind of a wall adapter. So it's not too power hungry. The real ones are the super large robots that I don't see a use case in agriculture and for the near future. So yes, they need energy, but I don't think, from my perspective, I don't see it as the primary cause of energy consumption in agriculture. I think Shitao will have a much better answer for that. Yeah.
Yeah, Shitao, how you address the energy issue?
Yeah,
because
so
I think,
for the
indoor
energy
farming,
part,
right? You have your LED light, you have your air conditioning, your environmental control, things like that. So how do you address that?
Yeah. So and here I think I should first say the plant is alive, right? So if we want to get to the agricultural products, we must take care of them first. So for this reason, I think, and the energy part, I think the answer still be the variety. Except this, by now in our farm, we already trying to explore the solar power and try to use the natural light. But for the plants, when we use these energies to control them, we are not just waste the energy, because we with our variety and technology, we can use this energy to face their growth in different stages. For example, for the light, we can reduce, because we exactly know the rhythm of the strawberry, so we can regulate the light used. For example, we reduce the daylight use and extend the net light use. So it can help to us reduce the energy cost first. But honestly said, and here I must say, the power is still a question in most aspects. But that's why we need more companies to involved in the agriculture and the farming part, because we need the support from different area and different to finish this. So by now, I think the agriculture is still at the eve of the revolution. So we need more new technology companies, more startup companies to construct the ecosystem of farming.
Yeah, I think to be frank now, I think we have started to enter into precision farming in a way that to be frank, I think for Singrow, right, they are actually addressing the energy problem, right, via from the plant itself rather than from the what you give to the plant. So what they know, right, is for each of the vegetable, each of the fruits, what the plants really need, rather than how much you are able to give to them. So because sometimes the more doesn't mean the merrier. For example, you thought that they can grow faster with giving them more light or more water or more nutrient. It doesn't really translate to what they really want, what the plant want to make sure that they actually have the optimal condition to grow at the most efficient way. Yeah, so I think if you are able to understand the biological needs of the plant, I think you will be able to maximize the energy you actually use, optimize them, and so that you are able to use the energy efficiently. Okay, so I think Singrow actually has done that for their strawberry. Okay, so therefore I think this is really a proof of concept and demonstration on how by understanding the plant physiology, then you are able to do something that is very meaningful and exponentially improve the existing energy consumption. All right. Okay. Yeah. Thanks so much for taking that question. Okay. I have another question. It's about funding also. Okay. So, but this is really something very encouraging. There is quite a fair amount of government funding in modern agriculture. And as for now, are the speaker looking at economy of scale, production, and as well as private investor? So I open this to three of y'all because they are all related to you. Siha, you want to start with?
Yeah.
You want me to repeat the question again?
I think I read it in
you got it, right?
in the
Okay.
comments. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll just quickly jump in. So yeah, I think generally speaking, agriculture as an area for problems is is not so forgiving. And just coming back to what I said earlier about solving hard problems at scale, it's we sort of need support to de-risk at the early stages, because these are just technically hard problems, but the solutions will be enduring, and the sort of time scales for the development are unlike what we are more used to seeing in terms of startup solutions. So it's kind of it helps to reflect on that and acknowledge the reality of it. So I think in the early stages, it's exactly why it's immensely beneficial to have grants and so on. But of course, there's very clear milestones that need to be achieved through grants, and I think that's largely around de-risking, right? The reason why we'd rather have grants as opposed to private funding in the early days is to de-risk the technology, de-risk the business, and de-risk the team. So that's exactly was our approach, because largely so far our funding has been through the Temasek Foundation and convertible note investment from NUS, and we have very clear goals set out, right? So we're getting very close to sort of hitting those milestones that we'd said early on, and we're very much on track. And what this phase has really helped us is to really observe the problem as it is, and not rush to solutions, not give in to urgencies, certain kind, which are of basically not being affected too much by external forces. It really allows us to focus on the difficulty of the problem and build the solution from ground up and make sure that we are building something that's enduring. So I think that's the biggest contribution of having funding through grants. As opposed, and based on that, unless we get here, there's no way we can look at economies of scale or even think about it in the first place, right? So I think this de-risking phase is critical, and what it has helped us is get to a point where we know exactly what this product should look like at 10x, at 100x, at 1000x. We know exactly what the tech specs should be, and what needs to be built in that sense. So getting that clarity takes time. It involves support and involves a lot of de-risking, but it has brought us to a point where we know exactly what it needs to look like if it has to be deployed at 10x and 100x. So I think that has positioned us well. In fact, we're looking at deploying our solutions overseas in the next few months, based on the results that we've been able to achieve, through our trials in Singapore. And I think the other question, the part of the question is around private investment. So I think I've spent a lot of time thinking about the nature of investments that companies in agriculture should be looking at. And I think this sort of classic cookie cutter approach for agtech companies does not work, because I think the trajectories are and timescales of development as well as deployment are quite different. And I think what's key is to sort of work with partners who sort of it's in their interest to solve this particular problem. So I think that's how it should be viewed, and it's been our approach in terms of engaging with external partners and investors. So we are again quite fortunate to have a sort of certain potential partners that we'd like to work in the future who share sort of our vision. But I think what one needs to be mindful of is just the agreement on the timescales and sort of the nature of the problem that we're solving. So that's how I view this particular phase in which we are at right now.
Okay, how about Shitao? What's your opinion on that? So, for example, they already said that government has a lot of funding currently supporting agritech, and then do you are aiming for economy of scale of your technology, and then do you really need support from the private funding?
Yes, I think both of them with Singrow is needed because to construct or build a farm is a very have a very high cost. So exactly we need more support either from government or the provides investors. Exactly, Singrow is invested by both government and the investor private investors. So I think for us, both we are needed.
I think you guys actually have very aggressive expansion plan. I can see that you guys started to be active in Southeast Asia. You go to Indonesia, and then you started to look into China. In fact, a few projects are currently in the pipeline. Okay, so that is very aggressive expansion plan for you guys. So I believe that probably to fuel all this expansion plan, you may need certain support in terms of financing from the private investor as well. Okay, government, I think typically they will support you in terms of technology development, in terms of a local setup, as well as So, but in fact of your future overseas expansion, probably you may need supports from the private investor. And I'm so glad that currently a lot of private investors, they are really looking at agritech. All right, so they are more willing into going into agritech, supporting the startups in I think it's all about sustainability, food security thoughts of them. Okay, so I think so far we actually got a very good support from the private sectors in terms of the funding to support the growth of the growth needs of the agritech startups. Daryl, you have anything to add on that?
I mean, I think on my end, so we did raise a private investment round last year. So it's our seed round. So I think my opinion in terms of funding is that I think government funding is very important for industries that take time, because the reality of private investors is that they look at things from a return on investment perspective in terms of the life cycle of the fund, right? So 4 years, 5 years, to get like 5-10 times returns. I mean, it's not easy for things that require time. So it's important for the government to step in that regard. And I think they've been doing an excellent job, especially in Singapore. For the private side, my opinion is that it's important for them to come in when the time is ready. I think as what Shita and Siddharth mentioned as well, is when you're ready, looking to scale, the private investors come in, they can open a lot of doors that the governments can't, because they have the connections, so it's important to bring in smart money. I think that's something that I always stress upon when I discuss with my team and also with my mentees and mentors as well. Smart money is very important. So don't just take money for the sake of money. And that's why I think private investors bring the value, the biggest value. And there are a lot of VCs looking at agritech. It's what David mentioned. So there shouldn't be a shortage of funds. So if you have a good idea, a good execution plan, I'm quite sure you'll be funded.
Go ahead.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, thanks so much. I think in general, I think we are seeing a very positive trend outside in the market. So in terms of funding. So I think we in the industry, in that space, in that domain, we actually has felt it. Yeah, so don't worry about the funding. I think you just need to work on the technologies that you have, make sure that there's some uniqueness over that, and then how you are able to have a better value proposition over your technology and product or solutions that you are going to offer. All right. Okay, I think for those that I have audience, right? So for those that I have not answer to your question, apologize for this because we only have 2 hours. Then I'm so happy that you guys actually posted a lot of questions. So it means that you guys are really interested in understanding more about agri-tech technologies and various related challenges or questions that agri-tech will have. All right, so but we will certainly get back to you. Okay, my last question before we wrap up, I would like to ask 3 of y'all. Do you have any advice to our fellow students in NUS, our staff, our alumni, as well as the member of public who wanted to be an entrepreneur, particularly those who actually wanted to enter agri-tech or modern farming?
Yeah.
Okay, Siha, you want to take that
first? Yeah.
Probably Shitao, go ahead.
Yeah.
Any advices?
Yeah. So just I mentioned before, now we are in the eve of the revolution of farming. So when you do your research, just keep one eye on the cross area, especially for the farming, because we need more technology and startups to support the evolution of farming. So just take care of the cross area. And another side is, if you want to be an entrepreneur, just go touch with NUS GRIP and other projects to understand how your idea can go to the real world.
Thank you for that. Okay. And how about Daryl? You have anything to share with us? What would be your advices to those who wanted to enter into entrepreneurship, you want to have startups, and then enter into agri-tech?
I mean, I got some points on that, but I guess I'll just share the high level one on entrepreneurship.
All right.
I think most people definitely want to start something. They just don't know how to start or when to start. So I think for me, I always have two tips on it. So the first one is you really understand the problem statement firsthand. So don't read it on textbooks, right? it's important to just to experience it. Experience it either through interning. You can intern in Augmentus, Singrow, or Polybee to really understand policy. And that's one way to do it. You really
Yeah, I think we got a lot of interns, right? They actually did it voluntarily. I mean, they come in, they just want to know more, so they like apply to be intern in. I think three of your companies all getting in interns, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, internships benefit the company in that we can train up the next generation and hopefully convert good quality interns. And also for the intern is really just to understand the problem statement in a level that you could never understand in the classroom. So I think that's the first one. The second one is to really be self-aware enough of your strengths and weaknesses, because a startup there's too many areas to do. So you need to understand what you're good in. And what you're weak in. The weak things you find your co-founders. That's where co-founders come in. Don't be someone that does everything. That is usually where things go haywire. So I would say these are my two high-level tips for aspiring entrepreneurs. Yeah.
Thanks so much. Siha, you have anything to add on?
Yeah, sure. My general advice would be to just chase your curiosity, and not be shy of exploring new areas and avenues, that you find exciting. Doesn't matter what your majors is, and doesn't matter what your background experience is in. And if you're someone who's curious and likes to work on, hard, big problems and important problems, then food and ag is the space to be in right now. We're really at the brink where we have to sort of build solutions that change things by orders of magnitude, and sort of create those paradigm shifts that we need. And the writing is on the wall, right? We need to change how we grow our food and how we prepare our food. So now is the time to dive in. And it might appear as an uncomfortable leap, or maybe sort of a digression from what you may have been doing in school, because it's just a new space, right? But I think there's plenty of opportunity out there, with young companies, through various initiatives from the government as well. So I think it's important to chase your curiosity and allow yourself to find out, if this is the space to be in. So I think it's just that, not being shy of exploring is what would be my sort of parting advice.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so I always believe that there's no too late or no too early, because in the revolution of the agritech, right? So it's going to be a long process, but at which time point you actually come in, if you actually have a very good technologies and has a very good value proposition in terms of the product and solutions that you are offering, I think you are contributing to the revolution of the agritech. So thank you, everyone. Thanks all the panel speakers for your insightful sharing. And then we have definitely benefited from today's discussion. Yeah, thank you very much. And for the audience, I hope that you are moved and inspired by their beliefs, innovation, as well as business acumen. So the entrepreneurship program in NUS are all about empowering students, staff with entrepreneurial exposure and experience in various industries. So imparting the skill sets that they need to become a change maker in the future, as well as NUS via its programs will provide the resources and support that you need to create your own startups. So NUS GRIP programs not only train up entrepreneurs, but we also raise individuals as a person to do good for others and to contribute back to the society. All right. So if you have a question we didn't get to answer, apologize again, but please contact us at the address shown on the screen. And then we will send you the link to our webinar recording after this event, and we'll be getting back to you. All right. And also your feedback is important to us. So please scan the QR code shown on the screen for a short survey, which I think will take up like a few minutes of your time. And then we will also send you an email link for a survey. So with that, I would like to thank for participating in today's webinar. And then I hope to see you guys again next time. Bye-bye.